Single Bang Bang here, and today we are going to be having a little chat about board games, more specifically, two-player board games. But first, as always, we have some announcements. Tales Unfinished are prepping for Fantasy Age, and you can too, with 5% off Green Ronin store with the code TalesUnfinished. You can also use the link below, so go ahead and grab a discount on any of their games. Next up, live on Kickstarter, Blister Critters by Odd Gob Games and the Stillfleet Studio is the world's greatest cartoon animal TTRPG. Play as a cartoon animal who wields bizarre mutations, trying to survive in a vast, cruel suburbia. Get everything you need to play in one boxed set. Pick up the game's intuitive mechanics in minutes, and then take control of a strangely familiar world. If you haven't tried the grit system, or if you've ever wanted to play as a little dude in a world after humanity, Blister Critters is the game for you. This project was funded in about 6 hours on Kickstarter, so they are onto the stretch goals now. If you also want to check out the actual gameplay of it, they do have the quick start rules available for free. So head to play.blistercritters.com or check on that link below. But now it's time to move back on to our main topic for today's episode, which is all about two-player games. Mostly board games, but we will see how that goes. And when I say we, that's because I do actually have a special guest with me today. So I am joined today by my wife, Briony.
Hello!
Tell us about yourself then.
So I'm Briony Marshall and I'm an author. I currently have 2 stories available for you to read out there. The first was Unravelled, a rom-com set in a wool shop. And then the second is From Rags to Richie, which is a forbidden romance. And they're both currently available as paperbacks and ebooks. And then I'm currently working on my third. Shh.
So you can find the links to those below in the show notes. And I just thought, obviously with Valentine's Day coming up, there is no better expert on two-player rom-coms than my wife. So that's why I roped her into helping me to record this episode. So, two-player games. We have a few, and looking over our collection, not as many as I would like to have. So when I normally think about two-player games, for the most part, it's TCGs. Trading card games are basically the main thing that I know of from two-player games. And then there's also obviously miniature wargaming as well, like Warhammer. Those are kind of it, really, in my brain when it comes to two-player games. But we do have some board games that we do play two-player. So,
yeah.
What are some of your favourites that we've got that we play?
My favourite at the minute has to be Everdell. That's probably my favourite purchase from UK Games Expo last year. I like that one because although we're playing against each other, you actually are creating your own village and it's still cutesy. It's not, I'm going to stab you in your sleep.
Which, yeah, I mean, that's what 90% of my games are. No, Everdell is good. It's a worker placement resource management game with cute woodland critters on it. It's a very nice game, and normally I'm not one for nice games, but in terms of the actual, the board game design itself, it's just a really nice thing to look at with this
aesthetically pleasing.
Yeah, it's got a big tree board that you set up in the middle. It's got berries, sap, twigs, and what is the other resource?
It was stone and resin.
Oh yeah, that was it. That was
resin,
it.
Not sap.
I know, terrible. But they're really tactile tokens and counters that they've got with it. Little wooden meeples for your workers. But yeah, as as you say, it's definitely one of those where you get to kind of just focus more on your own game rather than actively working against someone else.
Yeah, because we were discussing a little bit before, weren't we? And like a lot of the other games that we like to play together, they are kind of different faces of that player versus player idea.
Mm-hmm.
Like Happy Little Dinosaurs.
Yeah, I mean...
That's one of my favourites, because again, it's cute. But I'm throwing diseases and meteors your way.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, again, it's a weird juxtaposition on things like that, because obviously they have got all of that really sort of cute artwork and, you know, they are all nice, but at the end of the day, you can literally just cause your opponent to go extinct.
Yeah, that's the like end one, isn't it?
Yeah.
Isn't it? Yeah.
But yeah, I think in terms of 2-player games, if you want to have it as like a date night thing, then something that is a bit more like Everdell, where, okay, there might be a winner at the end of it. Although it was very close in our last game.
Our last game was there was a point in it.
There was a point difference. If it came down to resources, though, I think that you would have absolutely won, like, even more on that.
But that's because one of my cards.
Yeah.
That was one of my game plans and my cards as well. That was why. But yeah, it was literally our point. And we felt so tense. Mm-hmm. Do you remember, like, when we were adding up the points, it was really tense.
But, you know, you got all of these little, like, woodland critters just looking at you, and it's like, I genuinely feel like I'm going to pass out in a second. The pressure is real. The squirrels are going to attack me and steal all of my pebbles.
So, and we played that for our anniversary.
Yeah.
So going along like couples games and like Valentine's, we played that on our anniversary and it was really nice.
Yeah. It's those sorts of things where you get to kind of, I wouldn't say like forget about the other player, but you're working on your thing. You're not actively going out of your way to just mess with the other player.
There is the odd thing you can do, but it's not definitely needed for the game. You could complete a game without hindering the other player, not intentionally anyway.
Yeah,
you can sit on their spot that they want to go to, but not intentionally.
Or just, you know, grab one of the cards.
Yeah,
from
the pool.
Yeah, and it's a similar thing really with like Wingspan.
Yeah, we like Wingspan as well.
Mm-hmm. Again, very tactile, really nice, like just egg tokens.
The eggs are beautiful in that game.
And the deck of just hundreds of cards. Like, we've played it a few times so far. We've seen barely any of the actual cards that are in there because there's just so many.
Yeah. And they're all real bird species. They are all genuine bird species.
Obviously now you've got the new version that's coming out, Wormspan, which is dragon version of that. So if birds aren't your things, but dragons are, there's a game for you on that. It's literally just the same thing, but it's dragons. Maybe not all real species of dragons, though. That would be quite boring. Like bearded dragon, and then you get the next card and it's a bearded dragon. And then you get a Ticket to Ride, I guess, is another similar one on that sort of vein. You are obviously trying to work on creating your train route. So you're not openly messing with another player.
One's blind, isn't it? You don't actually know whether the person has to go, do you?
Yeah.
On that one. So you don't, again, you're not actively being mean, but you can be mean without realising.
Yeah, you could block up their route that they're trying to go on. But again, it's one of those that you are working towards a goal. Same with Wingspan and
Everdell.
Yeah, and Everdell, and it's not open warfare. Villainous treads a board on that one. Disney Villainous.
Yeah.
All of the Villainous games, obviously there's the Marvel and the Star Wars ones as well, because you are having to attack other players' cards on that. And
you use a mechanic of the character. So again, it depends what character you choose to play as. And if you're in 2-player, you have to choose. And then it depends what you're going to do against whoever.
There are other set collecting games as well, like we've got Sushi Go Party.
Oh, yeah.
Again, obviously, it's got cute faces on it.
So I love it.
It's just little bits of sushi with little faces on it.
But like, because it's a party game as well, though, you do get that feeling that if you expanded it with other players, though, would it actually bring more to the table? I think that's the question we had with a lot of our 2-player games, because they could be opened up for more players. The question was, would it be more beneficial to the game? Would you see more of the game if there was more people at the table?
Yeah, it's a difficult one, because obviously in our sort of day-to-day, we don't have too many people that we could sort of have a board game night with.
Yeah.
Not physically, that are like geographically nearby. So obviously, for example, I've got my podcast group, Tales Unfinished, shameless plug, and we are all over the UK. There are 2 that live with each other, and then but they're also kind of slightly in Scotland. So getting people together for like a board game night, it's just not a thing that can happen. So a lot of the time, if we're playing a board game, we are just playing it with the 2 of us. Yeah. And that does mean that there are certain games that we own, that we really enjoy, that we can't actually play, like Munchkin. Munchkin, obviously a classic game by Steve Jackson. 3 players, I think it's 3 to 5 players. 3
minimum.
Yeah.
That's the biggie one, isn't it?
Because you need to either get your friends to help you to kill the monsters, or you need to stab people in the back. If you're just playing as 2 players, nobody's going to help each other. Everyone's going to stab each other in the back. It's as simple as that. So it's one of those.
For the best armor, you have to build your armor collection in that one, don't you?
We've got different versions of it. We've got regular Munchkin. We've got Munchkin Bites. We've had like some of the holiday packs over the years. We got Munchkin Loot Letter, which is a love letter, reskin. Which, yeah, fine. You can play that one as 2-player. But again, there is just a definite you're playing to win in that one, which is kind of awkward considering it's like love letter.
Love letter.
But then they did obviously make the Munchkin trading card game as a way for people who enjoyed the look and the ridiculous puns to be able to play that with just 2 players. We have decks for that.
We do.
Did we ever actually play it?
I don't think we did.
No. Which is weird, yeah, because we were so excited for that when it was coming out, and now it's another one of those, you find the booster packs in the bottom of like a bargain bin, or on eBay, someone selling them off for like £1 a go.
Yeah. Because we mentioned like card games, didn't we? And we said about how they're the most common 2-player and only 2-player games that you can get. I mean, I have terrified you in the past with a fairy Pokemon deck.
Right, so we started collecting Pokemon together around the X and Y era.
Yeah.
So obviously around X and Y, new Pokemon type comes out. It's fairy type. And as we are there and we're getting so many cards, like we got multiple Elite Trainer boxes through that are just jam-packed. We bought lots of starter decks as well.
Yeah, no, that's how we actually started collecting from there.
I had the Froakie starter deck and you had the Fennekin one. Yeah. So we started out with those, and as we're going along, we're opening boosters and we're collecting. It hits a certain point where anything that Briony sees that's, not cute.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just gave that one to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I genuinely was just like, I don't really like fairy type as a concept. The only reason that I didn't really like it, realistically, is it's things that had been established for a very long time in Pokemon, like Clefairy or Jigglypuff, when they were just normal types before.
Yeah.
And then suddenly they become fairy types. Now, it does make sense.
They had to glow up.
Yeah, I completely understand that, but it changed so much about the game when suddenly their entire typing changed. And I think I just took, slight offense to it. So I didn't really look at the fairy cards at all properly. And I was just giving them over to you. And then we were playing games, and then I was getting my ass handed to me by these fairies.
Consistently.
It was, yeah.
It was the Carbink combo.
Yeah. The amount of energy acceleration, the fact that they could just freely move around energy on the board to whoever needs it, hit for the amount of fairy energy that you have on them.
Xerneas could swap for Xerneas. I think that was one of the moves that could be done. I think it was Xerneas.
Yeah. You had them where they weren't affected by any special conditions. Mm-hmm. They could heal.
They had a barrier one, didn't they? They had a bench barrier.
They had a bench barrier. Like, it was absolutely ridiculous. It's like they went, okay, so we've got a new type in this card game. What can we do to make it completely overpowered? Let's just give it every single ability.
It's been rotated out now, though, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's a weird. Do you know? I actually find the newer switch up worse than I found the addition of fairy as a thing. The way that they've done it now is you've got. It used to be that poison types, psychic types, and ghost types all came under the psychic classification in the Pokemon trading card game. And then dark types were just dark types. Now I believe that it is... I want to get this right. I think that it's dark and poison are now dark types, and that it's psychic and ghost that are psychic types. So they've mixed things around, but then they put fairies in to the psychic types as well, and they got rid of fairy as its own specific type and the whole basic energy on it. I kind of get why they did it with the other two, because obviously when it comes to that, I know we've gone really sidetracked on this. Like water and ice go under the water bracket. Flying goes under the colourless normal bracket. Fighting, ground, and rock all go under that the fighting bracket, and then dragon doesn't even have its own actual basic energy at all. So if you're a dragon, you have to have multiple types. Long story short, those decks were terrifying. Now everything's changed. We haven't really been keeping up with the Pokemon TCG releases because there's just so many of them.
Yeah.
And we had our decks at a point that we were happy with. And at the end of the day, if we're happy with how those decks are, and we're not playing competitively, it is just, for the most part, it's us two playing at home. So do we need to keep going out and collecting every single booster pack that comes out? Probably not.
It's just the mechanics. Sometimes I miss seeing the new mechanics on things.
Mm-hmm.
That's why the fairies did appeal to me as well, and they were pink. But obviously, the mechanics as well were different than what I'd seen before. Because I do like fire as well. I just want to just say that, throw that out there.
Yeah.
I don't play anymore. No fairies. No.
And then you've got your Mew deck as well.
Yeah. I think Mew was the bench barrier though in fairy. If I remember rightly.
Probably was.
I think it had a fairy card. See, it appealed to all of my loves. Petition to bring back fairy type of Pokemon. No.
We'll speak to the Pokemon company. We'll hit them up. But yeah, when it comes to trading card games like that, they are obviously directly competitive.
Mm-hmm.
But they are still fun.
Well, we used to build decks together.
Yeah.
And I think that's a couple activity.
Mm-hmm.
more so than the actual play, I suppose, and like the trading and the collecting part of it as well. Not necessarily the gameplay as such, but everything that goes around it. That was, if you can do that with somebody, that's really enriching. It's
the hobby nature, it's the sharing thing. It's literally to open up a booster pack, even if you've, you secretly just grabbed a booster pack for yourself, and then you open it up, and then you see a card, and you go, "Oh, I'll give that one to Briony."
Yeah.
I think actually there's so many times in my unboxing videos that I did for YouTube, and I'm literally opening up the packs and I'm saying that that's a card that you're going to have off of me. I think you're right. I think having someone to do that with and being able to kind of share in that hobby with makes it better.
Yeah.
And, it can be quite cute when you can then, like, get yourself like the little, I'm going to buy this version of this set. Do you want to buy the other one?
Yeah.
Or to just go in on one of the big expensive sets and then just split it down the middle.
Yeah. Because it will work for that because of what you get in the boxes and things. Like an Elite Trainer box, as you mentioned before, you can definitely split that.
Yeah. So as an author, obviously we have some storytelling board games as well.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on those as sort of a two-player thing?
Well, I loved Gloom. Gloom appealed to me straight away. I think I saw that on YouTube first. So I saw the cards. I saw how different they were, like the see-through layover idea. And then on top of that, it was the fact that you had to tell the story of their deaths. It was just fantastic. And then we ended up with, we've got three of those in total. One's a base game.
Yeah, and then the Unhappy Homes expansion. And then...
Is the Fairy Tale one?
Yeah, Fairy Tale.
So I really enjoyed everything about them, the storytelling aspect and the actual look of the game and the way that it worked. But again, I know I've played that with my family. Like we've played that as a full family 4 unit before, and that's worked really well.
Yeah.
But I do love that game. I just love everything about it. And then I suppose as the more original, I suppose you could say, was Once Upon a Time. We've got that one, but we haven't played that much, considering that I am an author.
Yeah.
We Vernonise outside of the board game more than we play the board game. Maybe it's just the prompts. Maybe I just don't like having a prompt for my Vernonising.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. They are really fun games. I think if you are comfortable telling stories...
In front of who you're playing with, that's important.
Yeah, absolutely. If you're comfortable telling stories in front of who you're playing with, then those would be fantastic games for you. If you are not keen on them, they do not work well at all as just a card game, because you are meant to describe the actions on the cards. So Gloom, you might have a like a poison or something. You've got to describe how that poison will kill off a family member. Once Upon a Time, you play down your cards. You're saying like, there was a prince who was walking down stream by a river, and then the next card that you would play would be a river card. But someone might have a card that can link into that,
like a bridge,
and then that's when they can play that card down and sort of take over the story. So they're fun for that,
but they're not really an icebreaker game.
No,
because we have got a good icebreaker game that we have played as couples.
Yeah,
but 4 of us.
Yeah.
That was good. I'll let you talk about that one.
So there's Retake. So there's Blockbuster, which is by Big Potato Games, and that is exactly what it says on the tin. It's Blockbuster Video. I
won't sing it for copyright reasons.
Probably don't.
I really want to, though.
Please don't.
Everyone can mentally fill that in.
Yep.
There you go.
So yes, you have the different film categories, and you have to start out with, you get a prompt, and you've got to go back and forth between the two teams, and whoever can't think of a film for that prompt, or when the timer runs out, then the other team takes the thing, and you basically end up having to pick out different categories of films. Think of it a bit like Trivial Pursuit. You need to collect one of each genre.
Yeah.
So you've got comedy, you've got animations, you've got classics. I assume rom-com is probably on there.
I think romance was, yeah.
Yeah. Action.
Horror. Was it horror? Was it sci-fi?
Yeah, no, I think horror, and then I think sci-fi might have been a separate one.
I'm just thinking of my blunder, that's why.
It's fine. But yeah, so you have to say a quote for one of them. You have to, and the thing with the quote is it can be a real quote or it can be made up, which leads to a lot of fun. You've got the act it out, where you kind of, it's charade style, you act out a scene from it.
Yep.
Yep.
Great when you don't know what the film is, or you get it mixed up with another film. That was my blunder.
Yep.
Yeah.
I can understand where you went wrong with that. It's completely fine. Alien versus Predator was a thing,
and I was doing Alien for Predator.
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah. It's an honest mistake to make if you haven't seen it. It's fine. And then the other one,
it was one word, wasn't it?
Yes.
You were only allowed to say one word.
And
that one was hard.
Yeah, that can be really, really tough.
You're missing the best bit, though. The actual board is the parking lot for Blockbuster.
Oh, yeah. And
that's incredible. I'd have led with that. That would have been the first thing I'd have said about the game.
It also has the sign that you have to put up, the billboard that you have to put up, and it's very tactile. And the box for it is a VHS case as well. There's also an expansion for it, which is called, I think it's literally called Blockbuster Returns, which we can only wish for. But you pick out the order that you want to do those in. So which one you want to do for the one word, which one you want to act out, which one you want to do the quote from. Then you also have to give over the other three that you don't want to do to the other team. So they have to also do a one word, they have to do an act it out, and they have to do a quote.
That's a good double date. That's a good double date game.
It's really helpful when you are there in a couple and you do have different tastes in films, except for when you're trying to get them to guess something specific to a film that they have absolutely zero idea on.
Yep.
But it is a lot of fun. Yeah, we've played that one a few times now.
Yeah.
And it has always just been a fun sort of double date game.
An icebreaker. Like if you've got somebody who likes games but they're not as into games as perhaps we are, but they're your friends and you've got them over and they want to play, we've got this massive display of board games. They want to get involved. That's a good one to choose. It's a good icebreaker. I think that's what I'd label that as.
Yeah. I'll let you cough a minute. Retake. In terms of co-op games, we really do not have many.
That's what we realised, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I like that style of gaming. And then you looked at the wall and you were like, oh, that doesn't show in our collection of games.
It's pretty bad. We have got the Cryptozoic deck building games. So there's Penny Arcade, Gamers vs. Evil. There's DC deck building game. And then we've also got, somehow I still haven't played it. It's still in the packaging. The Power Rangers deck building game by Renegade Game Studios. So we've got those.
Yeah, which we have played some versions of.
Yeah,
I enjoy them. I remember, I think I was Harley Quinn in one of them.
Yep. They're okay. I think with the DC one, because I had the Forever Evil pack, technically there is also an element of, I think that you could end up with a secret mission on some of those characters, so it still has that element of playing against each other. But then other co-op games that we've got is it's the Power Rangers Heroes of the Grid game, which somehow so far on this podcast I haven't spoken about, and it takes up 2 entire shelves on our Kallax just on its own.
With a pretty display.
It has a nice display. I don't even have every single piece of this game that's been released so far.
You want it though?
Of course I want it. So I've got the base game, I've got the Kickstarter exclusives, I've got Shattered Grid, Rise of the Psycho Rangers. I've got, the 2 big figures of Cyclopsis and the Megazord. I've got the Squat and Babu character pack. I've got the Zeo Rangers, and then I've got the Legacy of Evil villain pack. And we have played pretty much just within the starter box and the Kickstarter exclusive stuff, because the game is really tough.
It's hard. It's really hard.
For 2 players, the way that the game works and the way that the game deals with that is it goes, okay, there are only 2 of you. You're going to each control 2 rangers. You're going to have more tokens and more resources to be able to move around. But whenever you, as a player, move one of your rangers to a location, the other one has to go. So if you need to go to a location and deal with something that could deal with only just having one being placed there, you can't do it. You have to send 2 of them there. So you end up not being able to effectively distribute your rangers around the board, which has led to us losing most of the time.
Yeah.
It's just during setup. Like, we'll have a few locations panicked or 2 locations panicked. Monster comes out, instantly panics the location. Next deployment of foot soldiers, instantly panics the location, lose the game. And that's, you said it earlier, it's disheartening to even start the game at times when you know that has happened that many times.
It takes a big setup as well. Like, you've got to be really into that game. And half the time you come to the table and you're excited for it. You spent the time getting it out, laying it out, putting it together, choosing your rangers, to then not really get that far.
I think we have ended up, there have been times where the setup, definitely the setup and the, packing it away has taken longer than we survived the game. I think our shortest one, it was like second turn or something that we lost the game.
It was crazy. Was that a Halloween one?
I think so, yeah. One of the pumpkin wrapper ones. Thought, this will be great. Here's a Halloween-themed game. Play this one, we have the pumpkin wrapper there as the villain. And then, 2 turns in, and then we've just lost. I'm like, cool.
Pack it away.
That was fun. Thanks for playing that game with me, dear. Yeah.
Because I play playing the Pink Ranger. You're quite taken with the Red Ranger.
Yep.
So it'd be quite nice to have a table again of Rangers, and then we're coming away again from that 2-player cooperative idea.
I think it's nice that they included a way that you can play the game as 2 players.
Yeah.
Because let's not kid ourselves. Power Rangers is very niche. Right? Obviously, 90s kids, you take the game to them, you have the base set is literally, it's Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, so you get to turn around and go, oh, look, you can play as all of the original Power Rangers. They'll go, yeah, that's awesome. And then you go, oh, okay, so I've got this Dino Charge pack, and I've got the Shattered Grid comic book expansion that has a Power Ranger team from the YouTube RPG show of what was it called? I can't remember. Hyperforce, that was it. And then you've lost that person there.
Yeah. Bye.
Yeah. It's incredibly niche, so you need to be able to have it so that it can be played by 2 players.
Yeah. But you can. We have played it many times. I think I've only ever played it 2-player. You've not, but yeah, I've only ever played it 2-player.
I've played it as with 4 players, and I can tell you that we were severely lacking a 5th ranger. It's kind of is optimized for 5 rangers,
which is fair.
Yeah, it's thematic. That's fine. Yeah. But yeah, looking at things, it's become quite apparent that we definitely need more 2-player co-op games.
Because when you first asked me about 2-player games, I went straight for video games, didn't I?
Yeah.
I was talking about the Yoshi game that I used to play,
mm-hmm.
Yoshi's Woolly World.
Yeah. And
when you play 2-player on that, you literally have to use each other to get through the levels. And then I started talking about It Takes Two, which I haven't played yet. I'm really excited to play. But again, you have to have that other person to play it. And we were saying we haven't got a board game that's like that.
Yeah.
That's what we're missing in our collection. A game where you have to have 2 and only 2 people to complete the game. Like an escape room, that's what I said.
Yeah. Yeah, we did an escape room recently.
Yep.
It went well.
We had a really good run.
We've done quite a few.
We've done a few, and we'd only ever got locked in once. And I'll be honest with you, that one was quite submersive, with the game host being quite in character, which was quite terrifying.
It was, especially because that was, it was post-lockdown. So it was just terrifying to be out in the first place. And then the person was equally terrifying.
He was very good. They don't exist anymore, which is a shame, but he was really good. He was in character, which did bring a different element to the experience. Like all your health and safety and everything was told in character for the room that we were about to do. But that was probably what put us into a frantic frenzy and we got locked in.
Yeah.
But apart from that, we had a really good winning streak.
Mm-hmm.
Like we'd done the Sherlock officially licensed one and everything. And then we got to this one the other day and we got locked in.
Yeah. Not ideal.
No.
So close.
So close. But we're going to do more this year, aren't we?
Yeah.
Because we had a break for a little bit. But we're thinking we need a board game like that. So we can bring that kind of cooperative play but to the table.
Like we know that there are the ones like Unlock and Exit that are literally there as those escape rooms in a box. They are board game versions of escape rooms.
Which we need one of. We
Yeah.
haven't got one.
Obviously, one of the other ones that we did as well before was we did the Cyanide Mysteries case file.
Yes, we did,
as well.
That's another loss.
Yeah.
Why are you mentioning that?
It was a loss. We were trying to be great detectives and figure out this case, but it was fun.
No, it was. No, it was really, really fun.
We lost because of our own brains, not anything to do with the actual game itself.
That one, it makes you think a lot. We can link that one, right?
Yeah. But the issue with things like that is, as much as they are fun, those ones are single use.
Yeah.
You know, they don't have much replay value, which when you want a 2-player co-op game, you want something that is going to have that replay value.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I guess one of the main things that we will put to you, the audience, is what 2-player co-op game recommendations do you have? Or just whatever your favourite 2-player games are in general.
Yeah.
As you said, we have had some sort of video game ones that we've done over the years. Anything that has just that sort of multiplayer functionality on it are things that we enjoy doing. But we're also, I think it's one of those things is we don't ever take our gaming too seriously.
Oh, no.
That we can play trading card games against each other. I mean, if I took my gaming too seriously, I probably never would have picked up the My Little Pony trading card game with you, for example.
And then my first ever Warhammer game, I won against you, and you've been playing that for years.
All right, yeah, that's absolutely fine.
And it was my first ever game.
I did take a break for 20 years. Maybe I just got rusty. But then
we were still friends.
Yeah, exactly. But then, in all fairness, you sat down to paint your first model, and it was instantly better than anything that I had ever done. And it's like, okay, cool. So not only are you kicking my ass at this game, you're also just out painting me now. Just here's your hobby. No, honestly, when it came to that, I was just so genuinely proud of you and found it really cool because you hadn't done anything like that.
No, me and fantasy aren't always friends. Sometimes I can't get into it too well. So the fact that I took that, hit the ground and ran with it, I think was really impressive to you, wasn't it?
Yeah. But the great thing, again, with the way that we're doing Warhammer, because we're playing Age of Sigmar, is that we get to do the Path to Glory. So with that, we are able to do a narrative campaign and kind of write our own stories. Yours is intense. At some point, not this time around, but at some point, we're gonna have you back.
Yeah, my lore is intense.
It's definitely something. Honestly, I love it. It's incredible. But yeah, it gives that a different way to play in something that is a competitive game, because once again, you are building your own story. You're building your own army. So it kind of goes back to those things like Everdell, like Wingspan, where fine, they are games that you are playing against people, but if you're doing it at least through the narrative campaigns, you're able to work on that sort of single player mentality and your own sort of story for it.
And for people like me, like I said at the fantasy thing, I can tell a story which helps me get into it more because I understand it more because I'm telling my story. That really helps me understand and know what I'm doing with these tree people. Which before I'd be like, what?
We'll go for a quick few honourable mentions of a couple of extra games that we do have on our shelf, but these are sort of their pick up and play games as opposed to your kind of big box things, which I like a big box game, but most of the time we don't have time to play a big box game. So there's Hive Pocket.
Yeah, that's our newest probably edition. That style of game,
which it's a tile placement checkers like game. With just little buggies on it. And then there is Tinder Blocks, which is again, it's another cute little game where you are having to build your campfire with a pair of tweezers because the pieces are that small. So that is very much you can put this in your pocket, you can put it in your handbag and you can take it wherever you're going to go.
Yep.
This is the sort of thing that if you're ever going to have to queue somewhere to get into a place, just take that.
Yeah.
But that one's nice, that one's fun.
It's like reverse Jenga. That's how I describe Tinder Blocks. It's reverse Jenga.
Yeah. With tweezers. But yeah, I'd say that's pretty much, that's our kind of 2-player games.
Yeah.
That's where we're at on that. So, moral of the story is we need more. We need to look at more co-op games.
Yeah. We found the hole in our collection.
Yeah. Which is, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. That means that there's more to buy. So, as I mentioned before, let us know any recommendations that you have for 2-player co-op games. I'd like to say thank you very much for joining me on this episode. It's been lovely having you here.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
We're talking like we're not going to be seeing each other when the recording's done. Obviously, we just both disappear into the mist. So thank you all for listening. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and all of those nice things. Take care, and thanks again. Bye-bye.
Bye.